This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. It's already 9:05. So we'll start now. Okay. So okay. So if you see that like Selenium with Java, so generally we use for the applications, web-based applications, right? So but that web-based application can be developed in using multiple uh, what you call frameworks. Like so, there's some famous front-end technology called Angular, which is generally TypeScript based framework. Okay, and like in that particular framework, synchronization was the major issue when you use the Selenium. Okay, so whoever has developed the Angular, initially it was developed by Google. So now if you try to automate the Angular application with your Selenium things, right? So generally you need to work extra on the synchronization issues. Okay, so there were so many problems with synchronization, and sometimes commands were not working properly and all, right? So that time only they invented a new this testing tool called Protractor. Okay, which is generally WebDriver IO based one, and it has so many things like for the inbuilt waiting mechanism where you don't need to worry about so much things, and also like to give the stability to the UI scripting. Okay, so that time it was I think I remember that around 4 years back, Protector was like in big demands, like everyone expecting that Protector, and uh, you should be able to code on it, right? So but with the time it was like stopped in between something, and there were no frequent builds or new frequent features was being added to Protector now. But again they have released Protector 7 2 or 3 months back, and I think again it may be a must be requirement or criteria for the testers, because you Max application are developed using the Angular applications. So to automate the automate those applications, so any Angular based framework is needed. So Protector is the first choice which we can learn and we can implement it. Okay, so there are many others JS based testing tools are coming, like Cypress or some other tools. Yeah, but if you know the core concept, so similar concept will be applied in other tools also. Maybe some syntax will be different or something different mechanism, but the more and less it will be the same. So we know already same with Java very much. So but if you know the any scripting based language framework like Protect and all, so it will be good for you also. So let's welcome Kaushik Chatterjee, who will give a session on how to get started with the Protector, because that is the first thing where everyone, because many documents whatever you see online, so those are outdated and there are so many things has been changed. So he will try to explain the from where to you start and how you can write the first scripts. Okay, so let us start with his session now. Kaushik, I will give you the sharing access. You just confirm.
Yeah, sure, you can.
Can you check now?
Yes, got it. Okay,
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
okay, yeah. Okay, thanks for the introduction, Amod. Okay, welcome, guys. Good evening or good morning from wherever you are. So, my name is Kaushik, and I'm a QA engineer. I work at Devecher, which is located in Chennai. And apart from testing, I'm also a developer of a product called Ruto that is used to find the XPath. And um, I also have a YouTube channel called Let Code. So I just started on this pandemic situation so that I can help someone. And I have all the Protector and Chrome extension developer series on that. So if you want to learn more about it, probably you can check that. Okay. So today we are going to learn about the Protector, but of course, learning a framework is easy if you know the language. So I'm going to cover the JavaScript basic, and then probably we'll move to the Protector. And in between, if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask in the chat or unmute yourself and you can ask me so that we can give a pause and then probably you can continue. Okay. Now, what is JavaScript? And we have might heard this word called Node or Node.js, and there are so many jargons in the world of JavaScript. But I will try my best to make you understand what is this and what are the core concept of this. And we are going to learn the JavaScript ES6 version, which is released in the year of 2016. And apart from that, we will also learn some of the functions like the latest code and what is Protractor is now and what it's going to be in the upcoming versions. So surely we'll talk about everything. So because of the time channels, I have designed in such a way that we can learn about the JavaScript, then probably we can learn about the Protractor. Okay. So first, let's get started. The first thing we have to do is, of course, the installation. So probably you can check how to do the installation as of now. And I hope my screen is visible and I am audible to everyone.
Yeah, Kaushik, we are good.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So
you are
first,
audible.
yeah, okay, thank you. So first we are going to do the installation, and that's going to be very, very simple. So we need only two softwares as of now. So one is the Node.js and another one is the VS Code ID. So ID in the sense, of course, you know, right? So if you are working on Selenium, probably you are using IntelliJ or the Eclipse. So similar thing, we have this VS Code. And VS Code is very popular among the JavaScript or any scripting language. Even VS Code can be used for the Python or any language you say. Even we can run this Java code within the VS Code as well. And it's very lightweight, and probably you can just take a look on that. It's very handy feature, and it has, I used most of the time VS Code because I work mostly on the JavaScript side. And we'll talk about this Node.js. So there is a work thing. Most of us get confused that what is Node and what is Node.js. Technically, both are same. No difference between Node or Node.js. It is like a alias. So if you name it as Node or the Node.js, both are technically same. .js is only the extension, that is our JavaScript file extension. That's it. And what is Node actually? So Node is a JavaScript runtime built on Chrome V8 engine. So actually Node doesn't have capability to run all your code. It actually wrapper around the Chrome's V8 engine. So Chrome V8 engine is the actual JavaScript engine that runs on your browser. Now, if you are going to learn the Java first, then probably we have to install the JDK and then we have to set up the ID and we have to do everything, right? But in terms of JavaScript, we no need to do anything. If you have browser, you can just open your console in the inspect. So most of the time, as a test automation engineer, we do the inspect and we take the elements, right? Similarly, if you go to this console, this is a place where you can just write your code like console.log, so which is used to like your sysout statement or the printf statement like this. So we can do that. But what we started to do in previous couple of years ago, we have to write HTML file and then we have to attach the script tag, and within the script tag we have to give the JavaScript file. Then only we can see all our codes running in the browser. But after the introduction of Node.js or the Node, it is become very simpler. You can run using your local machine itself. You don't need of any editor or any browser like that. You can just simply create a notepad file with a JS extension and probably you can run all your code here. And as I said, that Node is a wrapper around the V8 engine, and V8 engine is the Google open source high performance JavaScript and WebAssembly engine completely written in C++. That means your Node.js can also support C++ application. So if the most of the node are built on top of the C++ application, so it can also trigger all the C++ applications. And the V8 engine is mostly used in the browser side for the WebAssembly. So WebAssembly in the sense, if you take your applications like Gmail or the Google Drive, mostly they looks like native application on your Windows or the Mac OS. So the look and feel and the behavior of the application itself, that are known as WebAssembly, right? And that's about the Node.js. And Node.js is just a runtime so that we can compile our code within the system itself without the help of browser, and we can execute our code. So that is what the use of Node.js. And in terms of testers view, tester perspective, if you say like when we are going to write our Selenium code, we might have used this Maven project, right? So Maven project is nothing but it's again build tool where we have the Maven repository where we can download all our files and the libraries, and we can install, we can use this in our editor, right? Or editor or the Selenium script, right? Same thing, we have this npm, so node package manager, npmjs.com. It is again your Maven repository where we have multiple library which are free, and some of the paid versions are also available. So it is exactly same like your Maven repository where we can download all the files, the libraries, whatever we want. For example, if you want to read data from Excel or the JSON, we have all the libraries here within this npm.js. Now, before the npm, it was entirely different. There are only few libraries available where people find difficult to get all those library. But once a node comes into the picture, the entire JavaScript world has been changed. And after the release of ES6 version, which is JavaScript version, and actually each and every year there will be a JavaScript version released. Now it might be ES10 or something like that, but ES still is the most popular, and still it is being used in almost web and the testing environment as well. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. So we're gonna I have already installed the Node.js and the VS Code, so you can just download the exe file, and probably you can just click on next, so that will install. So here is the official link for that. You have to select this LTS. LTS is like long-term support. So current version might have some of the features which is not tested yet. So always go with the LTS version, so that will be more reliable, and of course we can use this, right? And similarly, you can just go to VS Code download, and you will get the studio, the ID, and that's it. So just download and click next. That will get installed on your system. Okay. Now we're going to learn some of the JavaScript concept. So let me go to my folder here.
I
Yes.
want to add some points, basic points about the JavaScript and Node.js here. So like,
Okay.
when the web pages were developing it, so mostly that time it was static web page, right? So to make the web pages dynamic, so JavaScript was invented in 1995, okay, where you can write some scripts so that your web page looks can load something like at runtime. So those type of things was included in JavaScript, and that time it was mainly running at the client side. Client side means in your browser. Okay. So after that, it has been evolved a lot, and the instead of only running the script coding at the client side, now you can run that server side also. So Node.js is such type of implementation of JavaScript here. Okay. So that is the so don't confuse the what is Node.js or what is JavaScript. The JavaScript is for the client side, and the if you want to run on server side, you can use the Node.js. Okay. So that is the basic difference. Okay. So generally, if you just want to work with the JavaScript, you don't need to install the Node.js or npm. Okay. If you want to run any JavaScript, you can use the browser console, or you can use this one, Visual Studio Code also. So if you want to use something which like if you want to use Protractor, right? So you are not writing something code on the browser console, right? So for this, I think you need the Node for npm packages. Okay. Yeah, Kaushik.
Okay. So we're going to start with this JavaScript basic. So I have already created a folder called let code, and within this you can just right click and you can click on the open with code, or else you can go to this and type cmd, so it will bring up the command prompt, and after that you can just type code and dot, so that will bring up your VS Code editor here. And within this, so let me just maximize. Okay, so within this we are going to create a folder, and we'll name it as JS basic. And first thing, data types. So every program language has the data types, so we are going to learn about the data types now. And as like Java, we also have this primitive and composite data type. So composite is also known as a reference data type. Primitive in the sense we have string, number, and boolean that are of primitive data types, and we have this object, array, and functions which are of composite. And other than that, we have also this undefined and null, which are special type of data types. There is a major difference between undefined and null, so I will show you in the code. Okay, so just let's try to declare some of the variables and we will move further. So I'm going to create a file within this folder first. So let us name this maybe learn data types. And there is no naming convention. So if you see in Java we follow this camel case. In JavaScript there is nothing like naming convention, but it is mostly preferred to use the same camel case, or even you can use the snake cases like in the Python we used to write within this underscore, right? So same thing we can do, but mostly recommended is used to this camel case. Okay, so I'm just going to increase the font size a bit. Okay, so here before ES6 we have only one type of declaration to declare a data, that is var. So if I want to declare something, I can say like var and then followed by the variable name, and here I'll say maybe my name, and here within this I equal to, so we are assigning a value to the variable called my name, and it can be string or anything, that doesn't matter here actually. So in Java we have to say explicitly, so if I'm going to declare a string I have to say like string, or for integer I have to say integer or int or the integer, like that. But in terms of Java, it is smart, the compiler is smart enough to understand what is the data it's going to come, and based on that it can perform some of the operations. For example, if I say like my name here, and that's it. So we have declared a variable called my name, which holds the value Kaushik. Now, why variable means, of course, to get the memory references or to store a data in the memory, and using that we can do something like we can convert the cases, or we can print anything, whatever you are going to do, right? And semicolon is not necessary in JavaScript. If you add, that's not a bad thing. If you don't add, that's also not a bad thing. So you can just optional it is, you can add or you can skip. That's purely depends on you. But as I'm from Java background, so I mostly use and sometimes I don't use. So it's purely up to you. Even if you add or don't add, the compiler will not throw any error here. Okay. Now let us try to print this. So I will say console.log. So console.log is similar to your system.out.println. So I believe that you guys are from Java background. So I'm just comparing Java and the JavaScript. Okay, and both are entirely different languages. There is no difference between Java and JavaScript. Both are entirely different. Okay, and here I will say my name. So we are calling the variable here, right? So we have declared a variable and we have printed the variable. Now, how do we run this? So as I said earlier, if you want to run this, you have to add the HTML file, and then you have to add the script within the HTML file, and then you have to run in your browser. But because of the node, which is going to act as a client-side server in your machine, so it's like your backend process, which is going to compile all your code, and then it's going to give you the output. So I can just bring up my terminal here, which is nothing but your command prompt. Within the VS Code editor, they have inbuilt command line, which is Control J to bring that up. And here you can see by default, actually we will get this as like Windows command prompt. And if I just open this, so we'll get like something like this. The default terminal will be Windows command prompt, but mostly I prefer to use the Linux based command. So I just changed this to git bash. So make sure your system has this git bash as well. Once you just select that, then delete it and again reopen. Now here we can see we are able to get this git bash here. So that's the default terminal I'm using. It's purely on you. So how you want to use it, nothing wrong about it. Okay. Then to run this file, we can use the node command and just say node and then followed by the file name. So that is learn-data.js. Now if I hit enter, here I can see I'm able to get the output, right? So this is how it's easy to run your script, all because of the node implementations, which is making our life more easier here, right? Now let us understand the most important concept in the world of ES6. So before ES6 we have only this one data type to declare like var, but in ES6 we have this let, and also we have this const. So we'll also learn what is the major difference, and trust me, it is one of the most important topic or the question in the interview. So most of the time, whenever we go to the testing or development related to JavaScript, the first question you will get like what is the difference between let, var, and constant. Okay, so we'll see this const first, then probably we'll take this let here. Okay, so here I'm just going to say constant age equal to 0, right? So we have declared a age and that holds the value of 0. So if I try to log this, log age, and of course I can just print it out, so nothing wrong about it. So of course we will get the 0. But when I try to reassign the value, if I say age equal to 1, and then if I try to log this, so I'm just going to copy this and paste over here, and if I try to run this now, here you can see that we are going to get an exception. It says that assignment to a constant variable is not possible. That means whenever we have declared a variable as this const, then we cannot re-edit it, or we cannot re-initialize the value. That is what the const actually means here. In terms of Java, I can say like it's your final. So once you declare, you cannot modify the final variable, right? So same concept here, we have this constant. Now when we have to use this means, mostly we're going to use this in terms of creating any object. So when we have this object for a class or anything, and then we can make the object name object access as a constant, so that it won't get reinitialized again and again. I hope this makes sense to you, right? And after that, we will also learn about the let keyword. So I'm just going to comment all this here. So before going to the let, I just wanted to show you the looping here. So as we do in loops, for loop in our Java, the exact same syntax here as well. So just start with for, and here I will say var a equal to 0, and it should go till until 5, and here we'll say like a plus plus. So we are incrementing one by one, right? Now within this for loop, I can just declare console.log, and here I can say a. So what is the expected output? Can anyone say?
Yeah, it's 0, 1, 2, and 5.
0 to 5 or the 4?
4, 4. Starts
4,
from
right?
0, right? Yep.
Yes. So if I run this now, here we can see 0 to 4. So this is the expected. Now, in case if I log this a variable here, what should be the output?
5.
It
right?
should be
Error.
1.
Error?
Error.
Okay. Why error?
So it's the
Because,
local variable to the for.
Okay, so it means that
local
the variable of a is scoped within this curly braces. This is how we have learned in
Yeah.
the Java world, right? So if something is inside this scope, then probably we won't get that. So this is now, as of now, we do not have any value here. It should be like undefined, right? But if I try to run this now, here you can see that we are able to get the value as 5. This is how it differs in the world of JavaScript. So what happens is, when we declare a value with var, that means it is not only restricted to the functional scope, but it also restricted, it also initialized to the across the file. Across in the files, in the sense, we don't call it file, actually it is like module. So it is available for the entire module. That is how the var keyword has been designed, which sometimes make lots of mistakes. Like as you said, like we expected this to be within the functional scope, but it is coming outside of the function. So if I have two variables with the same name, then of course it's going to create some problem for us, right? So to avoid this kind of declarations, ES6 has introduced the keyword called let. Now if I just, instead of var, if I make this as let, and if I try to run this now, you can see the entire different answer or the output here, right? Here it says that a is not defined. Now the a, because the a is now let, that means that whenever we have this scope, whenever we have this functional scope, let is specific within the functional scope. It is not going outside of the module. That is how the let has been designed. But in terms of var, it can be accessed outside of the functional scope as well. So this is the difference between let, var, and of course we know what is the difference like constant. Are you able to understand this? Any doubt on this?
Kaushik, can we relate this to like static and non-static? I mean, because if we make it okay, yeah, no, I'm just trying to relate.
No. See, static in the sense, when there is another object, then the static value also persists. Like, so that is how static works. But here it's not about the persistence of value. Here it's about the functional scope. So when we say like var, what
Okay,
happens is we can access the value outside of the scope. So from this curly braces, to these curly braces. That is how we define the scope, right? So we can access outside
Correct.
of
Yes.
the scope, but in terms of let, we cannot access that outside of the scope. That is how it differs.
Okay.
You can
So
relate
while
this.
debugging, how we I'm sorry. While debugging, how we will understand where it has started and where it has ended? Only curly braces will decide, right?
Yes, only the curly braces. Like
Yeah.
the
Okay.
curly braces
So,
is
but
exactly same like our Java. So even in the Java, we write all our logics or all our code within the curly braces itself, right?
okay. No, in case of var, because it even outside the curly braces also value is getting assigned, right? So
Yes.
that's
Yeah. So that is the
yeah.
problem actually till ES6. So in ES6, they have improved the declaration variable declarations, and most of the modern web development or the testing nowadays recommended to use the let or the const, and the var is getting avoided in recent web development.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kaushik.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So this is
And
one
even
of the most
you can find so many example programs on it, like how there's some other differences between var and late also. So if you Kaushik has given some basic idea, so now if you go and explore little more, then you will find that var is actually function is scoped and late is block is scoped. So you can learn more about these things. Okay, so but basic is this one, basic idea about var and late is the this much. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, it differs on the functional as well. So if you have functions and if you are going to declare within that, then entirely different. And there is also this keyword which also differs based on the arrow syntax and the functional method. So it differs. I'm just going to give you the basic idea. Probably you can take around because of the time constraint. I cannot take everything. I hope you get that right. Okay. So moving forward, we'll learn about the, I think that's pretty much enough for the string. So as I said earlier, we no need to declare any of the string or anything. So you can just declare some like var or let, whatever it is. So we'll use the let now. So let, and here we can say age equal to 0, something like that. And that's going to be decided in the runtime, whether it's a string or a number. If you want to check that, you can do like console.log, and here you can say type of, and here we can say the variable name, so it's going to be age, and similarly I'm just going to copy paste, and here we will say this as my name. Right now, if I try to print this, here you can see one is the number type and another one is the string type. Okay, so that is how we can check what is the data type, but this just for learning. Compiler is smart enough to understand what is the data type we are giving or declaring, and based on that we can do some of the operations. Now even some
Yeah.
of the posts,
Kaushik,
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's same like Python, right? Even in Python also
Yes,
it
yes.
automatically. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, even in Python, we no need to declare this left-hand side. So there is no like var and let in Python. We can just give the name and then equal to the value that will be taken by the compiler.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So similarly, we have all this boolean and double float, everything. So whatever the data types we have, everything. But here we do not have segregations like boolean or decimal or floating, something like that. I mean the float or the decimal. Instead of that, we have just this number which is going to hold all the decimal point and as well the whole number as well. Okay. Now, there is always multiple ways to do things in the world of JavaScript. There is no single type. For example, if you want to declare a function in Java, probably you can just declare in one way, or of course you can use the anonymous lambda functions, maybe two ways. That is what in Java, right? But in terms of JavaScript, we can declare at least 5. So I know 5 types, and there might be also another type as well. So here we can see that these are the functions, and functions always starts with the keyword called function, then followed by the name of the function, and within the curly braces we have to write the logic whatever we are going to write. And then we have also this function declaration with parameters. So parameters in the sense we can pass some of the arguments, and based on the arguments we can do in the runtime you can get the values, right? And then also here we have this function expression. So that means we can declare a function to a variable. Now when we're gonna use this, I will tell you. So maybe while coding I will tell you, right? Functional expressions, and this functional expressions are the a feature of ES6. And apart from this, we also have this arrow functions, which we gonna use most of the time in our Protractor script. So here you can see the arrow syntax. It's exactly like here this function expression, but the difference here is instead of function keyword, we are using this arrow syntax here, arrow key, right? So that is what functional expression with arrow key, right? And also we have this anonymous function. So anonymous function we will use most of the time in our Protractor script. Anonymous function means a function without any name. Now you might wonder, like, if the function doesn't have any function name, then how I'm supposed to call it? It's like more of into the callback functions. So while writing a script, maybe I can explain you better on this anonymous function. Okay, so let's see how to write a function, and I hope you guys know what is the function. So in terms of Java, we call it as method. In terms of scripting language, we call it as function, but JavaScript supports both scripting as well as object oriented. So of course we can write the classes and everything in JavaScript as well. Okay, so let us create a function. It's very simple function. I'm going to create function, and probably we'll say add, and the braces, normal braces, and within the curly braces we have to write something, right? So we'll write like console.log 1 plus 1, right? That's it. So this is how we have to declare a function with the function keyword, and then followed by the function name and the curly braces. So this defines that we have the function, and within the curly braces we have to write our actual logic. Now how to call this function means very simple. So you can say add, and then this that's it. We can just call the brackets and then semicolon, and even semicolon is not necessary, just in case if you want you can use it. Now I'm just going to clear up the console and I'm going to run this. So here you can see we are able to get this as 2. Now just in case if you want to pass a parameter, then probably we can do like a comma b. That's it. So a comma b, in the sense we are passing 2 arguments here, and here we can say like a plus b here. Now this is very easy to understand. We are just passing a plus b, that's it. But if you see the same in Java, then we have to say like what is the data type of it, like int a comma int b, like that. But in terms of JavaScript, the compiler can understand, but also sometimes it gives us problem, right? I will tell you like what happens. Like for example, here I'm calling this a, and here I will say 1 comma 1. So that means I'm expecting the value to be 2, right? But if I send another parameter, if I remove another parameter in Java, you will get the compile time error directly in the compiler, in the editor itself. But in JavaScript, that doesn't happen always. And to avoid this kind of jargons, we have this TypeScript. TypeScript can basically make your JavaScript code as a strict data type. So TypeScript is another programming language, but it is a superset of JavaScript. That means if you know JavaScript, probably you can learn the TypeScript within 30 minutes, I can assure you, at least in terms of testing. I'm not talking about the web development where you have to learn about the injection, dependency injection and everything. But in terms of testing, of course you can learn the TypeScript within 30 minutes if you are good in JavaScript. Okay, now if I try to run this now, let's see what happens. It will say that NaN means not a number. So what we are trying to do actually is we are trying to add 1 here. The a values will be 1 and plus b, and b is not defined. That means b is undefined. So if anything is undefined and if you are trying to do some manipulation on that, it will become not a number. So 1 plus 1 both are number, the output also number. But when we add some value to a undefined, then of course we will get not a number. This is one of the thing, right? And let me just change this to 1 plus 2, and if you run this, of course we'll get the output as 3, right? And we can call the function, we can declare the function and we can call the function anywhere. So even before declaring the function, we are trying to call this, and that should work fine. That's not a problem, but it differs when we are going to call the arrow function. For example, let me just comment this, and here we will add the same function. So I will say function add, and as of now we'll write console.log, and here we will say 1 plus 1. Okay, so very simple. So same function, we have this add function. Within this we are calling 1 plus 1, so we are just expecting 2. Now instead of writing this, we can assign this function to a variable. Let us see how to do that. So here I will say let, and maybe I can say my add and equal to this. So this is absolutely fine. This is how we can declare a function as well. So we are assigning this function to a variable called let my add, right? So this is how we have this function expression. So basically we are converting a function to the expression. Now when I say function expression, I no need to pass this function name here actually. So that's not needed here. So I can just simply call this. Now to call this here, I can say my add, and if I try to run this now, I will get the same output, right? Now also we can minimize this function. So here we already know that this is actually of type function, so explicitly we no need to say this function keyword. I can just remove this. But now the compiler is not happy. It says that, hey, you are trying to do something, but I'm not able to understand what you're trying to do. You are saying that you have assigned a variable and then we have called this function symbol, but you didn't say anywhere that it's a function. So this is directly not possible, but with the help of arrow syntax, we can achieve this. So here I can simply say this arrow syntax. This is again your function. So if I mouse over on this, here you can say this is function, which is going to return us nothing. So that's of course the same void, right? Now, if I try to run this, of course I will get the same output. That's not a problem. But when I call this function before declaring this my add function, let's see what happens. So here it says that cannot access my add before initialization. So what happens in terms of arrow syntax is when we have written the function with the arrow syntax, we cannot call that function before the declaration itself. So that is the main difference between the function and the arrow function. And there is also internal something difference. It's based on the this keyword, which can be defined within the browser. So when we say this means it is going to consider your window object. So in browser, if I go to this browser and if I click on this inspect, and if you go to this console and if I say this, so this is going to represent actually the window object within this browser. So this in the sense it always refers to the window object, but do not worry about it in that way in the browser level. Just as of now understand that when we call this function my add before declaring, that's going to, of course that's going to bring up error saying that cannot access before initialization. So that is the difference as of now between the regular function. So this is like your regular function and this is like your arrow syntax. Are you able to understand this concept here?
Yeah, you're trying to explain
Yeah,
about
Virendra.
the anonymous function, right?
Not the anonymous. So this is not anonymous actually. So this is function with this particular name here.
Okay.
Anonymous
Okay.
function
Yeah.
in the sense, even if you don't declare anything, then it's going to be
Okay.
your anonymous function.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Okay. So these are actually expression, function expressions, we call it. Okay. So I'm just going to comment this, and here we call this as my add. And if I try to run this, of course, it's gonna work. So let me just move this to the right hand side, maybe. Okay. So clear it up and run. Of course, we will get the output. So this is how. Now, what is means we can also reduce this function. For example, let's say that I want to do the multiply. So let multiply, and here I can say like I want a function, and that it's going to return us whatever the value I'm going to pass. Let's say 2 into 2, maybe like this. Okay. So when I declare like this is also going to work. For example, if I call this multiple function here now. Okay, not this one. So okay, so just let me change this here. Okay, so we have to use the return keyword first. Sorry for that. So return, and if you try to call this now, so console.log, and within this we are gonna say multiply, and of course you can see that it's returning as the function, which is none. So that means whenever you use this arrow syntax, even that is also the function. So it is like the difference between regular function and the arrow function is you can directly declare this, and most of the time when we are going to write our protractor script, at that point we are going to use this arrow syntax. I will show you like when we can use this, right? And then if I try to call the function directly, here you can see we are able to get this answer as 6. Now we'll go with the basic concept like protractor, how we can run our script and everything. So we are going to use this npm node package manager, which is, again, as I said earlier, it's your Maven repository. And for the JavaScript world, it is like your npm packages, where we have all this inbuilt library or the built library where we can access this directly. Okay, so JavaScript can be written based on functional as well as classes. So if you are going to learn about the page object model, then of course we have to go with the classes. But for the basic learning, we can stick to the fun scripting language as well. Okay, so here I'm just going to clear up my console. First thing, we have to initialize our project. Okay, so I'm going to use the same folder, and here I will say the initialization to make sure that we are able to run our protractor script. So first we have to say npm, so node package manager, and init and -y. -y in the sense it's not going to ask you like who is the author or what is the project name or some basic data. So it's just going to, once we do enter, it will create a package.json file. So here you can see this package.json, which has this name, version, description, and main, and then followed by some of the keywords, right? So if I don't use -y, that means it is going to ask you all this details here. So that is the reason of we are using -y, which can skip all these functions. I mean all the default metadata for us. Okay. Now we have created this package.json, and if you're familiar with the Maven, this is like your pom.xml. So in the pom.xml, what we used to do is we used to write, call our Selenium library or the Apache or the testng. So whatever the library we want to use, probably we call all those within the pom.xml, right? Same thing within this package.json, we can call our dependencies. Now, if I go back to this npm, and here I can type protractor, and here you can see that we are getting this WebDriver end-to-end test wrapper for Angular. So we can use this. Now, Protractor is mostly used for AngularJS applications automations. We can automate any AngularJS application, but it is not restricted to the AngularJS automation only. We can automate our any Java application or the ASP applications, whatever the applications we have, we can automate everything. Now you might ask me, Kaushik, there is already Selenium, which already has so many users and it is giving us regular update. Why we cannot use the Selenium? Of course we can use that. As in the starting about says like the synchronization problem is the major problem in terms of Selenium. But of course, can we automate? Yes, of course, 100% we can automate, but you have to write your WebDriver wait script or some logics to internally wait for each and every call. Now, how this Angular application actually works is, Angular application is like single page application, which doesn't get reflected or changed for each and every time. What happens is the UI will be stable, but the inner components, whatever the values you have or whatever the pages is going to reflect, it get changes for each and every time. So that is how the Angular has been designed. Now Angular or Vue.js or React.js, most are kindly, the concept is same, but of course have different internal core logic. But if you are going to automate the AngularJS application, then Protractor is the best. Okay, and here we can see that we have got this latest release of 7.0.0, which released 2 months ago. Before 2 months, if you see the change log, probably you can see that they have released this version 5.4. The major version 5.4, which is 2 years ago. That is the reason people actually do not nowadays are not using the Protractor that much. But still, you know the reality, right? So whenever we are going to get a call from the interview, you can probably see that Selenium and Protractor, that is how they are asking. Even nowadays people are moving forward to the WebDriver IO or Cypress, but learning everything is good, but we know the reality, what is going to get from where we are going to get the paid, right? So if you know the Protractor and if you know the JavaScript, then probably you can learn any of the testing framework like the Cypress or the Puppeteer or the Playwright or Coded UI. So you can learn each and every syntax, I mean, in every API. So learning API or the library is very easy if you understand the basic concept of the programming language, right? I will also tell you like what are the alternates of Protractor that are using in the market, or you can use it for your project. Okay, and as we can see that here we have 5 months, 3 months, and 2 months ago we are update. So I believe that still Protractor, it's not going to end very soon, and maybe at least for the next 2 or 3 years it's going to be in the market, and of course there will be plenty of job opportunities, right? Okay, now let us see how to install this. So here we have this basic command like npm I and then followed by the Protractor. So you can just click on this copy button and you can go to your terminal, and here we have to do the first global installation. Let us understand what is global and what is the local installation. So global installation in the
Kaushik,
sense,
I just want
yes,
to add one point here. Like you pointed, like Protractor will be in future for 2 to 3 years. So people don't gets like misunderstand that product. If you learn the Protractor now, it will be no more useful for you. The purpose of learning if you start learning with Protractor, so at least you can implement the similar logic or somewhat different in other tools. Okay, because there are so many JS based automation tools, right? Whatever here named, right? Cypress or Puppeteer, right? Those type of things. So learning, if you get the experience on any like Protractor tool, so you can work, you can use this similar concept for other tools as well. Okay, so focus on learning. Tools will be keep coming. You cannot say that okay, Selenium is the last or Protect is the last, or no other tool will come. No, Cypress was also not so much famous, but in last 2 years it was like getting popularity, right? So tools will be keep coming, but you need to be strong in your basics. Okay. Yeah, Kaushik, please.
yeah, yeah, just don't learn the technologies. Technology will come and go for sure, but learn the approach to solve it. That is what important. If you are familiar with the language means JavaScript or Java, then probably you can explore any API. So if you know the basic OOPS concept, I think that's pretty much enough to explore any of the API, right? Okay, so we'll understand what is the difference between global installation and the local installation. So here I can use npm and then followed by I stand for shortcut of install. So I can type like install, or I can just stick to I. So both are technically same. And here I have to say -g. -g in the sense we are installing any of the dependency in the global. For example, if I say Protractor and if I hit enter, it's going to install or download all the dependencies in my app data folder. For example, if you go to your run and click on, I mean, type .m2, so that's going to bring up this repository where we have all our Maven dependencies, right? In terms of Node.js, this all everything are get stored in this app data. And if you go to this app data, then followed by roaming, I think. So if you go to this roaming, and if you go to this npm, within this you can find a folder called node modules, and within this we have this like Protractor, TypeScript, and Jasmine, and everything we have, right? So this is what global installations means. That means if you installed it globally, then you can use it across any of your folder in your machine. But when we are going to use the Protractor, we also make sure that we are able to get the node modules within our project itself, so that we can get all the code suggestions and we can run it very easily, right? So here same command, but instead of -g, we are going to remove this, and here we'll say npm I, then followed by the library name, that is Protractor. Now if I once hit enter, you can see that here we'll get another folder called node modules, and within the folder every files that are given by the Protractor or the Selenium. So Protractor basically wrapper around the Selenium. So in Selenium we have this WebDriver, so that is WebDriver.js. So that is what the Protractor internally use, but they have done some modification that can resolve the synchronization problem. Okay, so here you can see that we are able to get this node modules, And within the node modules, we have this plenty of files, but we are interested on this protector. So if you go down, and here you can see we are able to get the protector. And within this, of course, we have all the necessary file to run our script. So any doubt on this installation part? Okay, so I assume no. And here you can see that as soon as I did the npm I, here you can see that we are able to get this protector with the version of 7 within this dependencies. So that means whatever the dependencies we are going to add to our project, that's gonna change or affect our package.json file. So again, it is same like your pom.xml, right? Okay, now we have installed the protector library, but protector cannot directly run its code. It needs a unit testing framework for specific to JavaScript. Now there are plenty of library available, or the unit testing framework available for like Jasmine. We have Mocha, and we have Karma, and like that we might have some another as well. And Jasmine and the Mocha is very famous in the market. We are going to learn the Jasmine because by default protector is supporting this Jasmine. So if I go to this protector official website, which is protectortest.org, and let me just go here. And here you can see that the basic installation setup. So you have to do this installation, and we have to this, I will come to this in a moment. And here you can see that we have this described it, and then followed by the sum of the script. So this described is nothing but your Jasmine. So I will do the installation of Jasmine first. So here I will say npm I, then of course we have to do the global first. So -g, then I will say Jasmine. So that's going to bring up my Jasmine library within my system in my app data folder. Now after that, I'm going to bring up that in my local project. So I just have to go and remove this -g, and then I can do the installation. So Jasmine is basically your unit testing framework. If I have to compare this with the world of Java, means I can say it is like your JUnit or the TestNG, or even I can compare this with the Cucumber. The reason is Jasmine is a BDD framework. So whatever the syntax we are going to write, that should be in terms of BDD.
Yeah, Kaushik, I have one doubt. So, why do you have to install global and local together? I mean, I miss maybe your explanation, but why would you do that?
Okay, so when we add this in the global level, that means our entire system will get access to all those library. But to get the code suggestions, or to get to run this in locally, we have to do the project level initialization. For example, in your M2 folder, you might have all your libraries, but until you add those dependency within your pom.xml, you won't get all those access, right? So same thing happening here as well.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. The Maven the Maven dependency inside the project. That's what you're referring to here.
Yes, yes. So whenever we install any of the dependencies, by default, it will go and store in your M2 folder, right, in the system level. But until we call those dependency within our pom.xml, we won't get the suggestion or the code access directly, right? So that is how, that's why we are using the global and the local installation.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
And moreover, it is like when we use the word like global and local. Okay, so like when you use the global means it is common, right? Same version, same everything. But suppose for any specific project you want to use some different version of any particular, like protector you want to use 5.4.2, right? So you can use that particular version of protector locally. Okay, whatever he has done. So you'll see the node modules folder within that project. That is your local. Okay, but if you want something to be installed globally and so that you can use in whatever project you want, you can use the global installation. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and same like M2. So once we download, it's not going to download again the whole thing. Rather, it will just point to that, and it will just do a copy of your files in your local project. So that is how it works. Okay. Now, Jasmine, as I said, is like a BDD framework. So whatever the test script we are going to write, it should be in the format of BDD. Okay. But don't worry, we are not going to use like when, then, and everything. It's going to be very, very simple. Okay. So most of the time, I will compare this with your test-ng so that you will get a better idea. Okay. Now we'll write our first script. So I'll just add this folder called first script maybe. And within this, we are going to create a JavaScript file. So let's try to take an application. So here we have this play.letgo.in, and if you go to this workspace, so this is basically we have built this entire website in Angular 9 version. So if you are going to learn any of the projects like Protractor or WebDriver or Cypress, probably you can use that. So we have built like a few of the scenarios that can be helpful for you to learning purpose, right? So I'm just going to give some of the inputs, like I'm going to explain you the async and await keyword here. So I will take this application here, right? So before that, we'll create a file here. So let us name this as maybe something like um, get. We'll name this as letcode directly. So and .js is the file extension. And please remember, whenever we are going to create any file within the VS Code, we have to declare the extension explicitly. So in Java, I mean in Eclipse, we can just right click and create new class, and the .java extension will be appended. But in terms of VS Code, for any of the file, you have to specify the file extension. Okay. And now we will write a basic test script. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to navigate to this particular website, and then I'm going to print the title of this website. So that is what I'm going to do now. Okay. So we'll copy this URL first, and here if I go, as I said, we have to write in terms of BDD. So here we are going to use the Jasmine. Now if I say describe, that means it is like your test suite. So we have this suite in our test-ng, we have test, class, methods, everything, right? Same concept applies in terms of Jasmine as well. So here describe, and within the describe, we have to specify two arguments. So if I mouse over, here you can see that the first argument, it needs a description, which is going to be of string data type. And then after that, it needs a spec definitions, which is going to be your function that should return nothing. That means void, right? Now, if I say like within single quotes or double quotes, you can declare a string like any type. It can be either single quotes or the double quotes, or even you can use this backticks. Probably I can explain the backticks maybe after a while. Okay. So here I will say like print title, something like that. And then we have to specify the comma, and then we have to pass the second argument. Now in this place, we can see that we are going to use the anonymous function. So as I said earlier, anonymous function is function without any name, right? So that is what anonymous function, right? So if I give you the syntax, here you can see that this brackets, which means we are calling a function, and this arrow syntax means that we are making this as a function, and then within the curly braces we are going to write some of the code, right? So same thing applies here as well. So I can just call this, and then that's it. So this is what anonymous functions stand for, and anonymous function are going to be very, very handy when we are going to write our script, because most of the time we do not call the classes directly. So that is not how the Protractor works. Of course, you can write your page object models within the classes and we can call that, but still we cannot create an object and we can execute our code directly. To run your test script using Protractor, we have to go with any of the testing framework like the Jasmine or the Mocha. So are you able to understand why we are what is the use of arrow syntax here? I mean the anonymous function here.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have created a test suite, and within the test suite, we can have n number of specs, right? So declare a specs, we are going to use this keyword called it. Now, if I just give mouse over on this, here you can see again, it needs the expectation. So we have to pass the expectation, that is going to be a string. So what is the name of the it block? And then we can give the implementation of a callback. So we gonna call another callback function. Now, what is callback means? When we are going to execute a function, that function internally calls another functions. So that is how callbacks works. I will not go deep into the callback. Maybe in some another time we can talk about it, because callbacks and promises are entirely different. But I'm going to cover the promise now, so you might get confused. So I don't want to get into that in deep. But maybe in some another time we can talk about the callbacks in detail, right? So basically, this is what the callback syntax looks like. Nothing much here, but I will not focus more onto it. Okay. So here within the 8 block, I will say like open let code, something like that. Okay, and then comma, then followed by another callback function here. So that's going to be my arrow syntax, anonymous function. And within the function, we have to write all our code. Now, if you want to open your Chrome browser, what we usually do in our Selenium script,
We'll do driver.get, right?
directly drive.get.
So
So
first
we need to
we'll
first set the
set the, I mean,
driver path.
driver path. If it is
Okay, so
Chrome,
yeah, so you have to create the driver path. Even that is not mandatory. The mandatory is creating object for the Chrome driver class, right? So that is what
yeah.
mandatory. System.set property is not mandatory. We can skip that. If you have your driver path in your system environment, then we can skip that. So that's not a problem actually. That's not actually mandatory. Okay. So, but in terms of Protractor, we have this object called browser, which is global, and we can call that anywhere without any object. I mean, in the sense like for Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver, or for Firefox, we have to say Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver. But in terms of Protractor, it is entirely different, and you can just have the access of the browser object, which we can call it globally anywhere. For example, if I say browser, and if I just give control space and enter, here you can see that we are able to import this const browser. So basically this is like your import statement in Java. So we are calling this Protractor. Require is like similar to your import statement, and we have stored that in a constant. Now why constant means, of course we know that once we declare this constant variable or the object, we are not going to rechange or reassign that. So that is why we are using this constant, and by default JavaScript suggests that use the constant for your objects or any of the uh, not reinitialized variable. Now here we can see that we are able to get this Protractor browser. So that's a class, and which is named as browser. Now here I can simply say browser.get. So get is the method which is going to pull up your website, right? Same function. So whatever the functions we have in our Java or in the Selenium, like the get or the get text or get attribute, everything is exactly same. Of course there are few additional things other than the Selenium code base, but of course most of the time whatever the things we have in our Selenium, that is going to be exactly same in Protractor as well. Okay, now within this I'm just going to pass the URL, so that should be this URL. Now as you said that we have to set the driver path here, right? But when we say this browser.get, we are actually not setting any system path here, because we have to download the driver from the Protractor library itself. So if I go back to this documentation, and probably you can see here that, okay, where is that file? Okay, so here we can see this syntax called WebDriver -manager and update. What it does actually is it is going to download your Chrome driver binary files and the Firefox binary file. By default, Protractor supports both the browsers Chrome and Firefox. So can we run in another browser? Yes, of course, 100% we can. But for that, we have to use the Selenium grid concept. So if you know about the Selenium grid concept, we mostly used in the Selenium script, right? So grid concept, of course, we have to set the node and hub, and based on that, Protractor is going to access your hub URL, and based on the actuals and the desired capabilities, it is going to work. But I'm just going to keep it simple, so I will tell you without the Selenium server we can run that. So that is what we are going to do. So first thing, we have to download the binary files. So here I will say WebDriver -manager and then followed by update. So this is going to pull up my Chrome binary files and the Firefox binary files. So here you can see that it also pulled up the Selenium standalone Java file, jar file, and then also it extracted the latest Chrome driver 83, and also it has this Firefox driver here. So why is that? This Gecko driver, right? So are you able to understand why we have to this WebDriver -manager update?
Yeah, Kaushik, got it.
Okay, so basically in Selenium we have to go to the driver provider and we have to download the driver. But in terms of Protractor, by default the Protractor supports Chrome and the Firefox, so we can just simply run that command and it is going to bring up all your drivers file. Okay, now here we are saying that browser.get and we are able to launch this website, right? And but how we are going to run this? So we cannot run this directly. So this spec file, actually you are getting this because I have this plugin. So let me just disable that. So I'm just going to disable this. Okay, so here you can see we are not able to get so that run test is basically a plugin. So on click it's going to run our test script, but that is not how its default works. Okay, so I have disabled that as of now. Now we have created this file which is like your spec file. Now in terms of Cucumber, can we run our spec file directly?
No, actually, no.
Yeah, we have to create a runner file, right? So we have the spec file separately and we have this runner file. So either using the JUnit or the testng, you can run it. So same logic applies here as well. So we have this describe, which is similar to your spec, the spec file. And here we are going to create another file that is going to be a runner file. So within the same folder, I will create another file that will be named as conf.js. So conf.js is meant like your configuration file where we have to say how we are going to run this. So first we have to say export.config, and within this object array, within the curly braces, we have to say like, sorry, it should be exports, not export. So exports.config, and within this, we have to specify what is the framework we are going to use. So as of now, we are using this Jasmine framework. So I will say framework and then colon, and then followed by we have to say Jasmine. Now this each and everything we will get from the Protractor website itself. So directly we can pull up the code from the Protractor website itself. So if we go to here, and here you can see this has this configurations which specified this Selenium address, but we are not going to use this. And then we have the specs. So specs is basically like what is the file we are going to run. So here comma, then followed by we'll say specs, and within this we have to give the arrow, the array. Okay, so within the square bracket it's like array, and of course array means we know that we can pass multiple file names, right? Multiple data or multiple files name, but as of now we have only this file name now. So we'll just name this as letcode.js. Okay, so this is the two things we are saying, like framework, what is the framework we are using, that is going to be our Jasmine, and what is the spec file. Spec file is nothing but your actual test case or the test script that we are going to run. And then followed by also we have to say like direct connect. So here I have to say direct connect equal :2. So direct connect means how does Protractor works is Protractor basically works based on the Selenium grid configuration. So here you can see they have mentioned the Selenium address where we have this hub IP, hub URL, right? So we have the Selenium address, we are pointing to the hub URL, but without that we can run using this direct connect. So if I go back here, and now if I open my terminal, so Control J, and here I can say like, sorry, okay, so first we have to go to the folder. So here my present working directory is this let code, but our script within this first script folder, right? So here we'll say cd then first script, and after that if I give ls, you can see that we have these two files. One is the conf.js and another one is this our spec file, right? Now here I can say Protractor and then followed by conf.js. we are not supposed to run our spec file. We have to run our configuration file. So when we okay, so protector tor yeah. So, okay, so when I call this conf.js, here you can see that my browser has been loaded, and okay, so yeah, sorry for that. So let go. Right now, just let me clear it up and run again. And it's going to open the browser, and it's going to load the website. And as soon as the website has loaded, by default it closes the browser as well. So that is how default protector setting is. But of course we can change that. We can go to the source code and we can modify that, but no need of wasting the system memory, right? So because if the driver is running in the background, that means of course your system memory is going to be consumed. But in terms of if you are going to do the debugging, or if you want to run in the existing browser, then probably you have to disable that. Okay, now this is how the default framework works. So this is your configuration file, and this is your spec file. Now of course we cannot run this directly, so we are creating a configuration file. This is like your runner file, which is going to point to your spec file. Are we clear with this?
Yep.
Yes.
And there's
Okay,
one hack also, like the configuration file Kaushik has named at conf.js, right? But if you name it as like protector.conf.js, then the command only protector will work for you. There's no need to mention the configuration file name. So because when you run the protector, by default it will look for the file name with the protector.com.js. So if you have single configuration files, then you can use the default name. But generally, you need to get multiple configuration files for different type of things. So yeah, so that is the hack actually, if you want to use.
So is it like a main function, right, in Java? So if I'm
Not main
trying to
function, it's
relate,
called, like we have pom.xml, right, from where you
uh,
build the project, right, and it will run the test, right? So similar kind of thing. Conf.js, where you mention everything, like in which browser you want to run, what is the timeout, what are the specs file you want to run, those type of things.
okay, all right, thanks.
okay. And just in case if you want to run the same spec file in Firefox, you can just change it here itself. We don't need to set driver path or to change the browser like from Chrome driver to Firefox, all the stuff. Just you can call it as like capabilities. So we'll pass this as capabilities. And within the capabilities, we have to specify the browser name. So browser name, and here we'll say this as Firefox. And that should work for sure. So it's going to bring up the Firefox browser now, if I have spelled everything correctly. And yeah, you can see that Firefox has invoked. So this is how very simple. And of course you can run parallel and in sequential, everything is possible. We don't need to worry about the thread concept and everything, because by default JavaScript is a single threaded programming language. That means we have only one thread here, but still we can achieve this parallel execution, everything with the help of Node. Okay. Now coming back to this,
Krush,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. One question. So do we have any like weight concept here? Like in Selenium, we have, right? Implicit
Yes,
and
yes, we
explicit
have.
weight.
Yes,
We have
implicit
one.
also
Okay.
there. Yeah, and explicit weight also have. So if you want to see implicit means just same syntax. So browser dot manage dot timeouts and
Oh,
dot
okay, okay.
implicit weight. So same thing. So that's why I said like if you're familiar with Java Selenium, then exactly we are going to say some same, but there we have to specify the time unit. But here in implicit weight, by default it's going to be millisecond. So we can say like 30 or whatever. We can have to specify within the milliseconds.
Okay. But here also we have thread dot sleep.
Yes, yes, of course we have. So just in case if you want to give browser dot sleep.
Okay,
And then
browser
what
dot.
is the second thing? Yeah, so instead of
Okay.
thread.sleep, we can use this browser.sleep.
All right.
But it
Thank
will
you very
run
much.
asynchronously. So that is different concept itself. Like it will not
Oh, okay.
wait. It will not wait like 5 seconds, then it will not go for the next statement. JavaScript is asynchronous programming language, which is the
Yeah,
major problem when you start working with the JavaScript based automation tool.
Yeah, so that's what, yeah, that is what I'm going to give you the explanation now. So this is the most important. You have to understand only two things in Protractor. One is the how to handle the callback, and what is callback, and how to handle the promises. So if you understand those concepts, then I think if you know Selenium very well, means the same method, the same concept, everything's here applies as well. So just to give you the demo, so here I will type like console.log, and here I will say hey. Okay. Now, if I execute this script, what should be the order of the script?
It's a sequential, so first browser will be launched and then the console will print, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, so let us check.
Okay.
Just going
Because
to...
you can add some statements before that one also, so that they will understand properly.
Yeah, okay. So here I will say like started. So I will say like started, and here I will say like finished. Okay. Now, if I try to run this, watch carefully my console, what is going to happen. So the browser has launched, and here you can see that we are able to get the started and finish both at the same time, and after that only actually my website has loaded. So this is the problem with the JavaScript. So I cannot say this is actually problem. This is how the language has been designed. So using the word problem, it's not an appropriate here. So this is how JavaScript has been designed, and this is how it works. It is mostly like your asynchronous call. It is not like synchronized. It will go by each and every line. No, that is not going to happen. It is asynchronized, where it will complete the execution for sure, but we will not cannot be sure that this is how the execution flow is going to be. Okay, to resolve this we have two ways. One is the using the then and the catch, or else we can go with the async and await. Now then and catch, you might find lots of tutorial. That is how the initially they have designed to work on the Protractor, but there are so many changes going to happen in the Selenium 4 version, and in the Selenium 4 version they have removed that particular thing. So if I go to this Protractor website, and if I go to this reference, and here you can see that we have this async and await, and here you can, if you read this, probably you will get that there is something called WebDriver control flow mechanism, which is used to convert all your JavaScript code to the synchronization. Of course, Protractor can solve that 90% or 80%, I can say, but not 100%. So when we have the Selenium 4 versions, they have actually changed the entire architecture of this WebDriver control flow. So what happens is your script might be broken if we have the latest version of Protractor, where the control flow is not going to support. As of now, it's supporting. So in the version, they didn't introduce any of the Selenium 4 features, because of course that's in alpha, so that's a entirely different story. But this is going to be changed, or it may break all the codes. So that is why there is a like hatred towards the Protractor, that people have started to saying that no, it's going to break all my script. Why should I go with this, and like all those things happening. But if you are going to use this async and await, then probably there will be no problem. So I will show you how to do that. Okay, and here you can see that.
Okay, one point to add, Kaushik, here, like if you run if you are using the Protractor commands, okay, so all Protractor commands will go synchronously, that one after another. But if you're mixing Protractor and non-Protractor commands, so that time you'll see this type of behavior, where some codes are executing before only. Okay, so when you are mixing the codes, then only you'll get this type of synchronization problem. But obviously, like you use some Selenium commands, right? But maximum logic you need to use Java programming, right? So similar kind of things here. If you're mixing the Protractor commands with the non-Protractor commands, then you need to use some like promise handling, callback, or async await. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that is why I said 80 to 90%, because what happens, of course, we are not going to use only the Protractor API, rather we are going to use the JavaScript like if condition or the for loop or for each, anything like that. At that point, what happens is it doesn't wait for the promise to resolve. The if condition will run first, or the loop will run first. Then of course our entire code is going to get break, right? So that is a problem in JavaScript, not a problem. That is how the design is in the world of JavaScript, but we'll see how to resolve all those using this async and await keyword. To give you a brief idea about it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this console log here, and once I open the website, I'm just going to bring up the title, so browser.get title, and we know that this title is going to return us the string, right? So here I will say like let title equal to, and if I try to print this, what we are expecting actually,
Should print let code title.
yeah, that means the title of the page, right? That is what we are
Yeah.
expecting, right? But if I try to run this, let's see what happens here. So here you can see that actually my browser didn't get fully loaded, but within that we can see that we are able to get some of these statements, right? So basically this is the control flow or the promises, I can say. So here you can see that managed promise and flow. Here it says there's control flow that we see in the website, right? So what happens is the print, the get title actually doesn't return the string, it returns actually the promise of string. Now, promise is very simple concept. It is like if you are going to commit something, you should fulfill it, right? So that is how in general promise. And in terms of JavaScript also, that is the same concept here as well. Now, to solve this, I can go with the then and catch. So let me show you that as well. Okay. So here I can say like, let me continue with this line. So here I will say dot, then here you can see this then and catch. So then is basically like your positive flow and catch is like your negative flow. So we'll see this then now, and then, and within this then I know that it is going to give us a title that is going to be of string, right? So here simply I can say any variable name. Let us make this as title, and then I can within this I can print this as title. So here we'll remove this, and here if I say console.log and title, now if I try to run this, let's see what happens. Okay, so here you can see that now we are able to get this as input hyphen let code. That means we are able to resolve the promises and we are able to get only the string. But the problem, as I said, is this then might be not going to support after the Selenium 4 update. So the usage of async and await is going to be very helpful for us. Now, to use the async and await, if you see the documentation here, they have said that we have to disable the Selenium promise manager first. So why is that? Okay, so here you can see that don't forget to turn off the control flow. As Amod says that a Protractor can run all the Protractor's lines by default synchronized. That is happening because of the control flow. But when we are going to use this async and await keyword, then we have to disable the Selenium promise manager. Selenium promise manager is nothing but your actual control flow. So we are going to turn off that. So how do I say that is just simply copy this Selenium. Let me just copy. Okay, and then go to your configuration file, and here we have to say comma then Selenium promise manager equal to false. So equal to in the sense this is basically an object, so we have to specify within this colon. Now once we say that, and now if I try to run my script, you can see that my script is not going to execute. Okay, you can see that we got nothing, but here you can see that we get like unhandled promise rejection. That means whenever we are going to use the Selenium promise manager as false, that means we have to now use the, we have to declare the control flows in the sense like we have to wait before each and every lines of code. We have to wait until the promises get resolved. Okay, so I'm just going to comment this now, and here I will say browser dot get title, and I will store this in a variable. So let title equal to, and again I will print this title. So console.log title, right? Now, if I mouse over on this title, here you can see that it's actually returning us this promise of string. Now, to resolve the promise, we have to use the keyword called async and await. So async will be by default, we have to set in the function level. So whenever there is a function, we have to make the function as async. Why we have to do is, like here I have to say async. Why we have to do like this is because some of the function may be giving us promises and some of the functions may not be giving us promises, but we have to make the function explicitly asynchronized so that we can use the promise here. Now, whenever I use this async keyword, then before each and every line, we have to make this as await. And if you missed at any place, then of course it's not going to work. So here I have to say await and await. Now, if I mouse around this, here you can see that the return type has been changed from promise of string to title, right? So if I remove this and if I show you, and if I mouse around this, here you can see that promise dot promise of string. But if I introduce this await keyword and then if I check the type, now here you can see that this is going to be of type string. So this is how we have to resolve the promises. Now let me just quickly run this. Okay, so it was very fast actually. When we compare the Selenium script with the Protractor script is going to be very fast comparing to Selenium or any other library. The reason is when we write code in Selenium, it convert all the Java files to the machine language and it just go with the JavaScript. But when we write using the JavaScript, it directly communicates with the browsers, and that's going to be faster comparing to your Selenium, right? That's different. Let's not worry about this. Let us worry about this async and await. Now, whenever we are going to resolve this promises, of course, we have to use this async and await keyword. Before each and every line, we have to use it. Now, just in case if I don't use, what happened? Let us see that. Okay. So here I'm going to say browser dot sleep, and here I will say like 5,000 seconds. That means 5,000 milliseconds. That means I'm going to wait for 5 seconds. Now, if I try to run this, here you can see that the browser is going to get opened. The title will be also printed, but after that, the browser will get closed immediately, right? That is what happened because I didn't use this await keyword. Now, to make sure that the sleep is going to work for sure, I have to say await and then I have to run this. Now you can see that it's going to load my website, it is going to print my title, and then again it's going to wait for 5 seconds. Now it's waiting for the 5 seconds, and after that browser is going to get closed immediately. So this is how the async and await works. And of course there are so many things around it, like how this await actually implemented or how actually it works, and why the word async and something like that. So due to the time challenge, of course I cannot give you most of the topics, but of course you can, if you are interested on the JavaScript or the Protractor, of course you can check out my channel, and probably will get all the detailed information in that.
One point to we added here, uh, like asynchronous await simply it is making a particular statement to wait till before the previous statement is getting completed. Okay, when you are using browser.get, so we're using await there, right? So if you don't mention it there, then also it will work fine because there's no previous statements, right? But for the next statement let title, where we are using await, so just note here that we are using await with the statement, not with the variable here. If you use await just with the like await let title, it will not give any error exception, but there will be no usage of it. Okay, and for the console.log we are not using await, but for the any statement which is going to take some time, we need to use the await with that. Okay, so that it will wait like when the when the execution will be completed, then only control will go for the next statement. Okay,
Yeah, you can just cut this await, and before the variable also you can use, so that will also work fine. So basically we are just controlling the flow of this one. That is the difference here.
So Kaushik, basically this can be used for debugging, right? Because when you want to run the script fast, I don't think we can use this async if the script is very clear without any issues, it will run very fast. But this async and wait we are using basically to debug, if I'm not wrong.
No.
No. Absolutely 100% no. So what happens
Okay.
is, as I said earlier, this is like synchronized. It is not synchronized. So what happens is it's go not in the same order. If you are going to write some, introduce some if condition or loop, then it's not going to
Okay.
exactly flow the same flow. But to make
Okay.
the
Okay.
flow and to resolve the promises, we are using this.
Okay. 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 Got it. Got it.
You start with the example, like where you need to use it. If you don't use, then the non-protected statement will go for execution before that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like jumble up, right?
Yes.
Not jumbling up. It's like
No, it
like
will.
in
Yeah.
JavaScript, all the statements will be triggered at once. If you're using the for loop and you want to
Mhm.
print some with some delays, it will not go. Like all the in the for loop for all the values. Like if you study from I equal to 0 and I less than equal to less than 5, right? So for
Mhm.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go and start the execution at once only. So
Right.
it will not go one after another. If you go more like if you start learning JavaScript, then you will see this type of behavior. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and mostly we know that JavaScript is mostly used in the web development or the web testing. But other than that, JavaScript is nowadays is used everywhere. So if you learn JavaScript, means it is not restricted to only for the testing purposes. You can build like hybrid applications using the React Native libraries, which are again written in completely in the JavaScript and the TypeScript. So learning JavaScript in 2020 is a very good option. And not sure, like I don't want to compare with the Java and JavaScript, but I think JavaScript actually ruling now. So JavaScript is the first language, uh, most famous language. If you check the 2019 and 2020 Stack Overflow most used language, JavaScript is the best. People say that Python, no, it is actually JavaScript. And JavaScript has evolved a lot. It is now used in the machine language. For example, if you have this TensorFlow, where it internally literally use the JavaScript, no other libraries. So of course, even if you're going forward, moving forward to AI or the ML, JavaScript is the best for you. Of course,
Yes,
Python is,
we
yeah, but
even
still,
some time back it was coming to news that the whatever libraries they were developed using the Python, they are moving towards JavaScript now. Yes.
so yeah. And if you know JavaScript, the advantage I say is when I started to learn Python, this is more of like very same. So if you know any of the scripting language, then learning another language is very easy. But don't go like here and there, don't like multiple languages. Instead of that, learn the concepts that will definitely help you. Languages are just syntactic sugars, but we have to learn the concepts.
Yeah, Kaushik, agreed, because nowadays they are expecting one programming language, one scripting language. Yeah,
It happens
and
always.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. It was very useful. Awesome. I
Okay,
really
thank you
like
Think
so much.
Kaushik,
Thank
any
you.
other topic remaining for you?
So, no, I think I'm pretty much done. Maybe the time challenge, but I just want to give you this play.letcode.in. So if you want to practice, probably you can use this website which is built by me and my friend. So you can use this. You will get all the basic use case. Of course, I'm trying to learn the Angular now, so I'm just trying to move to the not move, but I'm trying to learn the development stuff, and I'm trying to introduce more of the test cases. And of course, I have a YouTube channel. So if you go to this youtube.com/letcode, where I have all the protector videos. I just started the channel in this COVID. So if you want to learn more in detail, probably you can check out. So I have defined like what is async and await, and how to debug your protector script, because debugging is really challenge, but with the help of async and await, we can do that very easily. So probably you can just check it out. You will get all the series. And I think that's pretty much enough. Yeah.
Kaushik, I think
Yeah,
you missed one
Kaushik,
thing. Like when you install the VS Code, generally
Hmm.
by default we don't get the protector command sessions. So can you tell about that? Like how which plugin we
hello.
need to install to get those sessions?
Oh no, actually, if you use like this import, this is recently I noticed I have updated my Node.js, and this type of things you have used means probably will get all the code suggestions. So here, if I say like element that is used to find the element. So element by dot xpath, something like that. So by default, you will get all the suggestions here itself. So you have to use like this const, then within the curly braces, the name, and then followed by required protector.
Kaushik, any best website for referring JavaScript which you recommend?
Probably you can check out my channel. If you want to
Yeah,
read blogs,
I'll do that.
means
I'll do that.
yeah, if you want to read blogs, means don't depend only on the blogs. Probably you can check out Medium. In Medium, there are so many things, but the problem is, if you're going to focus only for testing, most of the JavaScript tutorials are based on the jQuery or the HTML. So you have to just filter out and follow a person who seems like writing on the testing side. So that will definitely help you.
Okay, so
Can
how
you
much
start?
I'm
If you
sorry,
start
how
with
much
JavaScript,
JavaScript is required for testing? I mean, is there, see, for Java means still core Java is fine, but
that
advanced
is
Java
a
is
great
not
question
required. I
actually.
think.
See,
uh,
advanced Java, when you talk about that is frameworks, right?
Yeah.
Java, there are so many frameworks, right? So if you want to use that, depends upon your requirement, right? Like if you want to use database connectivity, so you need to learn JDBC, right? But if you don't need, then no need to learn JDBC. Code
Yeah,
means
that's what. So
everything,
we have
that is the
at least,
basic, right? See,
yeah, yeah,
like in
we have it.
JavaScript also, you will get so many npm packages for different types of usage. Whatever you have used,
Okay.
you can use. So that is
Okay.
really very invalid question, like how much JavaScript required. So no, that is not the correct answer, and it has no answer also. Sorry, no, not
Okay.
a correct question, no answer also. The
Okay.
If you learn more, you can write better code. If you learn less, then you need to write 5 lines of code. But who knows the basic well, he can write in 1 line also. So that is the
Okay.
difference.
No, no, because in interview they'll ask, right, how much you rate in JavaScript, like 1 to 5. So at least in Java, I can tell, okay, till core Java I'm okay, or till the advanced concept I'm okay. Like that, I thought if something is there.
Yeah, but in code Java also there are so many things, right? They can confuse you easily, right?
Okay, that's entirely different topic, but to specifically answer you like how much you want to learn, means if you're not interested on the development side, if you're going to learn about the oops concept, that's pretty much enough. Because if you see in Java, we have to learn the thread local, thread implementation, everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in terms of Protractor API, there is to run the test script in multiple browsers, we no need to learn that much. Okay, so as I said, it is a single threaded application, so there is no concept like thread and everything. It's everything like event loop, so that's entirely different concept. But to specific answer, if you just want to focus on the testing, probably you can go with the oops concept.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
one more thing I forgot to tell, that JavaScript doesn't support overloading concept.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's please make a note on that. JavaScript doesn't support overloading concept.
But still, it's like whoops concept only, right? Except this.
Yeah, yes. Except this, everything is pretty much same. So classes we have methods, we have constructor, we have private variables, and everything is there.
But this is also not 100% object oriented, right? Because we have primitive.
No. Yeah, not 100%. Absolutely not.
Yeah, correct. Only Python, I think. Yeah.
It's object based, I guess. JavaScript is
Yeah,
object based.
object as well as functional based, scripting based.
Okay, that's
Okay.
it, Kaushik. It was really awesome. Thanks for your time on the Sunday. You have given so much information. Definitely, we'll look into your code and your website also. Thank you.
Actually, I have to thank you guys, because most of us don't like to join on Sunday. It is supposed to plan on Saturday, but yeah, somehow I couldn't join, so that's why we are conducting on the Sunday. And thanks to Amod for giving me opportunity to deliver the content. And of course, thank you guys so much for being here. And I believe that you have learned at least the basic. Because of the time challenge, I'm not able to convey everything. But yeah, I think at least you got the basic idea.
All right. Yeah.
Kaushik, I
Thank you
have
very
one
much.
question here. Kaushik, can I
Yes.
ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you use like for driver, right? You use WebDriver something, right? WebDriver. So where you are not downloading any browser, right? It is
Yes.
automatically download, right? All the instances.
Yes.
So
Or
this
not
is
all the instances, only the Chrome and the Firefox.
yeah, Chrome and Firefox. So my question is, this something like we do have WebDriver manager in Java May 1, something like this?
No. At least WebDriver Manager
Suggestion?
is not from Selenium. It's a third-party library. So
Yeah,
where
third
this
party.
is, yeah, this is built in to the core of Protractor.
Okay, okay. Protractor team develop themselves, right? This one?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It is kind of like auto management of executable files based on the version of your Chrome and Firefox. You can download IE and Edge as well, but you need to pass the different commands while
And
updating that.
Yeah, but
and
can
can
Hello.
you
not
handle the version as well here?
sorry?
Kaushik, I have one question. Vishal here.
Yes, yes.
Uh, as in Protractor, we need to keep it means server we need to keep on, right, while
No, no.
executing the script.
Yeah, that is
Is
Selenium
it mandatory
server.
or is
No,
it
it is
mandatory
not.
or
It is not mandatory for the the Chrome driver and the Firefox. But if you're going to run in Edge or the IE, then of course you have to keep the server live. So
yeah?
Selenium
My
did
question
concept
is
it.
because so sometimes we run our script like as a smoke test with association with Jenkins job in pipeline, right? So at
Hmm.
that time it would affect, right?
Yeah, so Jenkins,
Means-
even if you run in Jenkins is going to run in any system, right? So you can trigger from your
yeah.
npm to start the Selenium address. The Selenium server.
Okay, so it's not mandatory. Only for Chrome and Firefox, it's not mandatory.
Yes,
To
for other browsers, of course, yes.
yeah.
For
Okay,
that, you need to
thank
use
you.
the that country as true. If you use
Yeah.
the as false, which is by default value, then you need to start the web development manager. Then only you can run the scripts. Okay.
Yes.
If you don't want, then you need to use that kind as true, and that is applicable only for Chrome and Firefox. I'm not sure, but he said that it works for Firefox also. Yeah.
Yes, we can just change this to Firefox, and that will run my Firefox with the direct connect.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think when I was working, so that kind was only for Chrome, I think. Okay.
Okay.
So any other question, guys?
Yeah, I think someone asking. Yes.
Currently, we have WebDriver IO is also available in market. So,
Mhm.
like being as a protector and WebDriver IO, so what you will suggest that people will what to choose right now because both are available in current market.
Okay, so that's most of the time I get this question. So I know the WebDriver IO, but I have tried the same with the protector ad script as well. I didn't find that much interesting on the WebDriver IO. The only difference is here we have to write async and await explicitly everywhere. But in WebDriver IO, we can just do the configurations and it will take care of your promises. So by default, it's going to be like your synchronized code. That is the only difference I found. And people mostly used to say that it is going to support the what we call that we have this element which we cannot write XPath. What is that about? That Shadow DOM, right? So it supports Shadow DOM, but I tried, but it is not that much. And I think Protector is coming back again, so they are releasing the updates. So I hope Protector will be still there. But again, it's based on your client requirements or the job opportunities you have. As of now, I don't see any job opportunity regarding the WebDriver as much we have in our Protector.
The main thing that Protector is well known actually, and
Yes.
Protector you'll get some community support with the Protector as well. Like if you are stuck in somewhere, so you'll get some solution at least. But with that is not with the WebDriver IO. So yeah, when the new tools come, so the main problem is the community support. Like Cypress is also new, right? So but they have developed the community support because many people are using, so they have the good community support. So that is also the big factor before you select any tool. Okay, so like Protector has good documentation also. They need to update with the latest version. Yeah, but they have the better documentation and the community support compared to WebDriver IO. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Kaushik, one last question.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, here we did not talk about any reporting, right? I mean, what reports we can use here? Third-party reports
So
also we can use or reporting?
So we have this Allure report, which looks very pretty.
Okay.
So we can just use this plugin. So we no need to take the screenshot and attach everything. So by default, Protractor can handle that. The reporters can handle that actually. So I'm using in my
Okay.
project the Allure report, and that looks pretty nice, like your same thing like your extend report.
In fact, there are
Okay.
so many reporting options available in the NPM compared to your Java, and
Yes.
Okay.
maximum are good free.
Yeah. So this is how
Yeah.
the something look like the reporter, not this. So this is how the reporter look likes.
Okay. Alright.
Also, we have
Thank you.
Jasmine report.
Yeah, Jasmine
Yes.
report. So by default, Jasmine is there, but it is like again your Cucumber report, which doesn't give that looks. Yeah.
I have one question. So when I was learning Protractor earlier, so I got to know that whenever we are using get operations, like whenever we want to fetch some data from the browser, like get title or get attribute, then only we have to
Yes.
handle the promise. Is it correct?
Yes, it is correct. Because if you use without async and await with the Selenium promise manager on, then Protractor can handle all those. So whenever it is like when we use this get title here, you can just see that it's going to return as promises. So by default, Protractor can solve 90% of percentage of the promises, but sometimes when we are going to get something from the outside, of course we have to resolve the promises.
But
So
maximum
not
API
for
जो
every state.
protector returning the promise.
So not for
Maximum
every statement we have to mention await, correct? Only whenever we are getting some data, then only we have to use await.
Yes, in case if you are finding this element like this, you no need to use the await keyword.
Okay, and also in line number 8 also you have used await. Is it required? Because in Selenium, when we use driver.get, it will wait until and unless page is getting loaded completely. So I guess it is not required. I just wanted to confirm.
No, it is required, 100% required. So when we turn off this Selenium promise manager, then each and every line is required this await keyword. If I remove this and if I try to run, it is not going to execute actually.
So whatever I mentioned earlier, like if you have two consecutive protector commands, then it is waiting there, right? After browser to get, if you have something, then it will wait there. Otherwise, it will go like all at once. So like it's async await is not only for the like some this commands where we are getting the promises. For the normal JavaScript course also, you need to use async await. If there's something, actually if that particular statement is taking some time, then to use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So any other questions, guys?
No, Kaushik. All good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, so I think Kaushik did a really good session actually, and like hopefully people like it, then we can call him for another session on some different, like mostly async await or the promises topic, because these are the most confusing topics. If you see the blogs also, so they are explained this technology in different terms, right? So but yeah, so that is still confusing for many, so we can onboard him again for this type of topics if people like it. And whoever is staying till last, that is those are the person who are really going to learn something. That is okay, because all these tutorials are available on Udemy or O'Reilly, right? But people, they don't get time or don't get that much patience to see and learn those things, right? So whoever is staying till last, yeah, so they have ability to learn something new. So yeah, thanks for staying till last, and thank you, Kaushik,
Yeah.
for this wonderful session. And hopefully we can onboard you again for some different topics.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we'll wind up now. And if you have any question, you can directly comment or send me a mail. Okay.
Yeah. Can
So
you share the recordings of this?
yes, I will share after some days. I will share for sure.
Thank
Because
you very
earlier I
much.
decided I will not share with, but yeah, because the purpose of this particular meetings like to help the Q community. So here, whoever they are joining or not, so that doesn't matter. I will upload these
Yeah.
videos on the YouTube so that you can refer again and again. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
So we're closing it
Thank
now.
you, Kaushik. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Bye.
Protractor. Nice suggestion, really. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.